Chapter 16 to 17 of Tristram, Shandy, Volume 1. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Veron. The Life and Opinions of Tristram Shandy, Gentleman, Volume 1, by Laurence Sterne. Chapter 16 to 17. Chapter 16. My father, as anybody may naturally imagine, came down with my mother into a country in but a pettish kind of a humour. The first 20 or 25 miles he did nothing at all but fret and tease himself, and indeed my brother too, about the cursed expense, which he said might every shilling of it have been saved. Then what vexed him more than everything else was the provoking time of the year, which, as I told you, was toward the end of September, when his raw fruits and green gages especially, in which he was very curious, were just ready for pulling. Had he been whistled up to London upon a tomfool's errand in any other month of the whole year, he should not have said 3 words about it. For next 2 whole stages no subject would go down but the heavy blow he had sustained from loss of a son, whom it seems he had fully reckoned upon his mind, and registered down in his pocket book as a second star for his old age, in case Bobby should fail him. The disappointment of this, he said, was 10 times more to a wise man than all the money which the journey, etc., had cost him, put together, brought £120. He did not mind it a rush. From Stilton all the way to Grantham, nothing in the whole affair provoked him so much as the condolences of his friends, and the foolish figure they should both make at church the first Sunday, of which, in the satirical vehemence of his wit, now sharpened a little by vexation, he would give so many humorous and provoking descriptions, and place his wit and self in so many tormenting lights and attitudes in the face of the whole congregation, that my mother declared these 2 stages were so truly tragicomical that she did nothing but laugh and cry on breath, from one end to the other of them all the way. From Grantham till they had crossed the Trent, my father was out of all kinds of patience at the vile trick and imposition which he fancied my mother had put upon him in this affair. Certainly, he would say to himself, over and over again, the woman could not be deceived herself, if she could. What weakness, tormenting word! Which let his imagination utterly dance, and before all was over, played the deuce, and all with him. For wheresoever the word weakness was uttered, and struck full upon his brain, so should it set him upon running divisions upon how many kinds of weaknesses there were, that there was such a thing as weakness of body, as well as weakness of mind, and then he would do nothing but syllogize within himself for a stage or 2 together, how far the cause of all these vexations might or might not have arisen out of himself. In short, he had so many little subjects of disquietude springing out of this one affair, all fretting successively in his mind as they rose up in it, that my mother, whatever was her journey up, had but an uneasy journey of it down. In a word, as she complained to my uncle Toby, who would have tired out the patience of any flesh alive. Chapter 17. Though my father travelled homewards, as I told you, in none of the best of moods, shoring and fishing all the way down, yet he had the complaisance to keep the worst part of the story still to himself, which was a resolution he had taken of doing himself the justice which my uncle Toby's clause in the marriage settlement empowered him, nor was it till the very night in which I was begot, which was 13 months after, that she had the least intimation of his design, when my father, happening, as you remember, to be a little chagrined and out of temper, took occasion as they lay chatting gravely in bed afterwards, talking over what was to come, to let her know that she must accommodate herself as well as she could to the bargain made between them in their marriage deeds, which was to lie in of her next child in the country, to balance the last year's journey. My father was a gentleman of many virtues, but he had a strong spice of that in his temper, which might, or might not, add to the number. 'Tis known by the name of perseverance in a good cause, and of obstinacy in a bad one. Of this my mother had so much knowledge, that she knew 'twas to no purpose to make any remonstrance, so she resolved to sit down quietly and make the most of it. End of chapter 16 to 17.